Nigerians have said
Well,
wasn't given wasn't
I think the right question should be what is possible. There's a difference between what is and what ought to be. What is what is governed by law, which is a possibility. What ought to be exists within the level or within the realm of morality. This is how it should be. If you are talking about what ought to be, it will be a question of yes, let's get a new constitution. What ought to be. But can it be? At this point, my answer is we can only do what is, which is what the law permits, what the law makes possible. Nigerians who are calling for a brand new constitution are doing this based on their own assumption of what ought to happen. Well, what can we do as a National Assembly? Section 9 of the 1999 Constitution as altered has addressed this issue, and it doesn't leave for any room for debate as to whether or not we need a new constitution or not. The only thing that is possible under the law, under the constitution as it is now, is a piecemeal, gradual amendment to the various provisions of the constitution. We cannot have a totally new constitution. The law does not grant us the powers to do that. What Section 9 of the Constitution grants us power to do is amendment to the existing provisions. However, having said that, part of the amendment that can be made is an amendment to Section 9 of the Constitution itself, which has specified the mode of altering our Constitution. If it can be amended to provide for a referendum by Nigerians that will make it possible for us to go for a new constitution, yes. But I can assure you, we have considered so many bills, and today we are done with the national public hearing, and we are going to go back into closed session at the committee level to begin to collate all these views and all these bills for a final preparation. Not one bill, not a single bill from any quarter in Nigeria has proposed an amendment to Section 9 of the Constitution, which is the only means by which the Constitution can provide for a referendum that will make it possible to have a brand new Constitution. So that's why I said there's a difference between what is and what ought to be. At the level of what ought to be, I agree. We need a new Constitution if we can. But is that possible at this point? The answer is no, because the law does not make a provision for that unless it is amended.
For example, Michael Opeyemi isn't telling you to do it now or right away. He said you should begin the process. And part of that process might be the amendment of that section.
So the process is let them bring a bill. I mean, a bill will come, and the bill will still have to go through all this process that we're going through. You know, there will have to be a bill before the Senate or the House of Reps, which will have to pass in each of the two chambers. And following the concurrence of the two chambers, it will now, be dealt with again by the Constitutional Review Committee. Nigerians, as we are doing, we also need to speak to that, at the end of which the bill passes, and it will now go to the State Houses of Assembly. We are still going to need 2/3 of the State House of Assembly. Actually, more than 2/3 for Section 9. We are going to need 4/5. That's 80%. 80% of voters in the House of Reps, 80% of voters in the Senate, and 80% of our State House of Assembly to pass an amendment to Section 9 of the Constitution before we can begin to talk of the process of having a new Constitution. So in the meantime, do we fold our arms and not amend the relevant sections? No, we have to do what the law permits at this moment. And if you ask me, having to talk about a brand new constitution in this country today, I don't think it's going to be a tea party. It's going to be, just look at what is happening around the country. And where do you begin? But to answer your question strictly, a new constitution is possible, but we have to amend the current constitution to allow, for the process to be activated.